Welcome to the Show Me the Way podcast. I am your host, Andrea Miller, and I'm so excited to bring this show to you. Show Me the Way is a podcast dedicated to exploring the journeys of those who have faced adversity and found themselves on unexpected paths. We will have meaningful, thoughtful conversations about challenges we have faced and how we discovered and forged new direction. Prepare to be inspired and to uncover your own strength as you listen to relatable and motivating stories. Life has a way of twisting and turning, and we often need a fresh perspective to understand how to navigate. Let's show each other the way. This week on Show Me the Way, I had the joy of sitting down with my friend and fellow Duchenne mom, Jen Shumsky. Our families have known each other through the Duchenne community for years, but it's been a while since we really caught up, and this conversation was such a gift. Jen's story is full of unexpected turns and beautiful Godwinks. As a college student, she had her sights set on a TV and movie career, laughing at friends who were going into nursing. She was sure she'd be living in California someday, but life had other plans. Eventually, she felt called to nursing herself, a choice that not only reshaped her career, but also brought her back home to Michigan. Go Blue. One more year in the dorms led her to meet her husband, and all those seemingly small choices became defining moments on her journey. Today, Jen is a wife and a mom of two incredible kids, one living with Duchenne muscular dystrophy and the other with type 1 diabetes. She and her family have faced these challenges with grace, strength, and heart. Her nursing background gave her the knowledge to navigate complex medical systems and inspired her to start her own consulting business, helping families who feel lost and overwhelmed by insurance or healthcare struggles. My favorite takeaways were medical diagnoses are the least interesting things about people. They are made up of so much more. And everyone carries a backpack filled with rocks. Some we can toss out, but others we must carry. And when we remember that, we lead with empathy and understanding. Jen's perspective is such a reminder that every twist in the road has purpose. What an inspiring and heartfelt conversation. Welcome back to the Show Me the Way podcast. Today's guest is someone I've known for a while but haven't chatted with in some time. So I'm so honored and grateful she agreed to do this podcast interview. Jen Shumsky is an awesome woman who has always inspired me as a hardworking, caregiving, and loving mom, wife, and friend. My husband and I met Jen and her family through the Duchenne community soon after our son Nathan was diagnosed. Jen's oldest child, her son, also has muscular dystrophy, and we've been able to follow his journey from afar, and everything that he does and has done gives us hope for our own son's future. Jen also has a daughter and a great husband that we've had the pleasure of meeting as well. Jen has dedicated her life to serving others, and she continues to be a positive light in many people's lives. As with all of our guests, there are many directions she could take this conversation, but I always tell my guests to speak what's on their hearts. So I will let Jen say a little bit more about herself and then hear from her about anything she would like to share and perspective that she would like to give all of us as well. So welcome to the show, Jen.
Thank you so much. Wow, I could go way too many directions, but yeah, as you said, I I'm Jen Shumsky. We live in Ypsilanti, Michigan. We're right on the border of Ann Arbor and Ypsi, and we both my husband Frank and I call him Chip. So you may hear refer to him as Chip, but his real name is Frank. We're both from Michigan. I grew up in the Granville area, and he is from Traverse City. And we have our son Xavier, who, as you said, has Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and he just turned 24 last week. And our daughter Erica is going to be 21 December 1st, and she,
Wow.
uh, I know, and she is living in Allendale, Michigan now. Comes home occasionally, but she is calling Allendale home now. And yeah, it's exciting to finally be here and to see you. It seems like we live so close together, but life just keeps you from seeing your friends that are just around the corner sometimes, which is why I'm so grateful for social media.
Yes, I know. People will say, oh, social media is so hard for all of these reasons, but there's some really good reasons too. And one of them is to stay connected for sure.
Yes,
So,
yes, exactly.
and are you still working for the nonprofit?
I am like contracted through them, but I have my own consulting business now. So
Okay.
I guess background, I'm a registered nurse. Have been for let's see, now it's been 30 years, which just seems crazy to me. So I was working for a Duchenne nonprofit called Little Hercules Foundation. And about a couple years ago, so 2023, I realized that for me, having Duchenne muscular dystrophy be my 24/7 just couldn't be the way I was living my life because I tell this to a lot of families, especially new diagnosed families. Duchenne is really like the least interesting thing about your child or anybody that has a kid with a diagnosis. That's like the least interesting thing about them, and you should never lead. You should never like lead with that, like when talking about your kids, because I mean, really, to them, they don't care. So I realized, why I can't make that my life. And so I left that being my 24/7 and started my own consulting business. So
Okay. And what is
it's
the consulting business like, helping people with healthcare and insurance?
yep, truly helping, my expertise, which again, never thought this is where I'd be, but really turned into access and reimbursement with insurance, commercial, Medicare, Medicaid, understanding how to get either medication, equipment that is medically necessary approved, but also just understanding how policies are written, how to help pharmaceutical companies design their clinical trials and their criteria there, because a lot of the policies that are being written are following clinical trial procedure instead of what the FDA labels are for medications, things like that. My career, I've been the nurse that has been filling out the prior authorization criteria, so I can train offices and how to train their staff and how to correctly fill that out, things like that. So it's multifaceted, but also helping families on the side. Just coming across a family that's having trouble getting something covered. That was something, obviously, I don't give any medical advice, but just coming across somebody that maybe just doesn't even understand why something's being denied. That obviously isn't part of my career. That's just helping somebody understand a basic thing. But yeah, so that's and through that I can control my own schedule, which is helpful.
Gosh, it's so awesome and so important and such a huge need. We know from direct experience, but just listening to other people, even people outside of the Duchenne community, it's so difficult. So having somebody that can guide you or help you, especially when you have emotions involved, what a special and important need. And it goes into, like I
Mhm.
said, we haven't talked that much, but I still know that you are such a servant-hearted person, and you just put that out there for all of our listeners. They can feel it too, I'm sure. So thank you for doing
Right,
that. And
right. Well,
before we
thank you.
close, we'll get back to that so that we can kind of plug your consultant company. But yeah, I love that. So thank you for doing that. And my favorite thing you said was that Duchenne is the least interesting thing about our children. And of course, that made me smile. You made me think of my son Nathan, who all of our listeners know that's why I started this podcast. But he is so much more interesting than Duchenne. You are spot on, and I know Xavier is so smart, and he's got this mind that works very differently than so many others, and all of the things he's been able to do with how smart he is. And you're right, least interesting thing for sure, but we're still doing the podcast because Duchenne or not, as Jen and I talked about before he popped on here, everybody has a story. Everybody could look back and think, huh, I did not think my life was going to look this way, even if you're young, because I remember when I was like in third grade, I thought I was going to be an artist. So we can all say that our futures look different than
Right,
what we expected. Yeah. So I,
right.
I really have enjoyed putting this podcast out there, starting with right when, and Jen can relate to this, when Nathan was diagnosed with Duchenne, everything went 180. It was like, well, this is going to be different. This is going to look different. The doctors will give you time frames like he'll be in a wheelchair at this age. This is the life expectancy. And you just immediately change your mind. Your mind is just blown. Like it's not going to look the way that I had pictured. And at first it was very, very difficult. But now it's really fun to see the person that he is. And it's awesome to understand how much he has educated us and shared with us and the perspective that he has given us. The person I was before he was diagnosed is not the person I am today. I think about how short life is. I try to find joy We try to allow him to do whatever he can possibly do in his
Mhm.
limited ways. We don't say, "Oh, Duchenne defines us. We can't do this. We can't do that." We try to say, "Okay, how are we going to do it Nathan's way?" And I mean,
Right.
Jen knows you can't do everything, but you can work things out to try to make the best possible life for a child that is in a wheelchair. And that's the
Mhm.
same for anybody. If something health wise is causing your life to look different, or you had to move, or you had to start caregiving for your elderly parents, or anything, there's things that you can do to still find the joy. And talking, sharing a podcast, talking to different people and interviewing, that brings my joy here. And it also allows people to share their perspective and learn from one another. So I know that no matter what Jen talks about, she's going to give us perspective and she's going to teach us for sure. I was just saying again before we popped on here that I follow her on Instagram, and she always posts really fun, inspirational memes or like whatever she's going through that day. She's very good at like, oh, today's a rough day, but hey, here's the joy, here's the fun, here's how we can make us laugh. And I know your husband does that a lot too. I forgot that you called him Chip, but yeah, Frank. I know
Yes.
when he is going through a lot too, and he finds the humor, which helps. I'm sure.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm going to shut up because I could keep talking, but I appreciate you sharing a little bit more about yourself. Yes, she lives in Michigan, very close to me. We live very close to one another, but haven't seen each other in person in a while. But I'm very grateful she's here. Obviously, we could talk about our connection with Duchenne, but there's so many other things that makes up Jen and her family. So I'm going to hold my pen, take some notes, and let Jen have the mic. So yeah, just share whatever's on your heart, and we'll go from there.
So many things in my heart. No, you brought up how I share things on social media, and a lot of it has just come from sometimes I struggle in how to express myself or like anxiety. And I find memes, especially on Instagram. It's like, I don't know how to express myself today, but man, does this meme say it all. And, some people are like, well, that was kind of self-deprecating and I'm like, but
Yeah.
it's not. It's just that sometimes can just express it in a way that, I'm having a rough day. I'm sure my friends are having a rough day. There's uh content creator that I follow, Anna Prisbisky. She's one that talks about, that really gave me like the Duchenne being the least interesting thing. She talked a lot about body image and, your skin suit, your body is the least interesting thing about you. And, that really stuck with me. I've started therapy this year and it's fascinating because I somebody had said to me, who in their early 20s thought they knew it all and had their entire life planned out. And I was like, me? I I I thought I thought I had figured out what I wanted out of life at 19, 20, and then I got to 52, 53, and I'm like, holy crap. Now I'm unpacking stuff. And so I see what my daughter and her peers, and I'm sure you see this with your kids, they're trying to figure out what they want. And I'm like, thank God I'm able to give her, and I see kids having the freedom to figure it out because I'm now at 52 trying to figure it out. Things like
Right.
that, you
Right. I
know?
relate. I relate. Yes, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about what you wanted to be as a kid. When I was in 7th grade, I decided I wanted to go into TV and movie production. That was what I was gonna do. And throughout high school, I took all my classes. I wanted to go to UCLA. I wanted to make TV, I wanted to make movies. I bought a video camera, the big honk. I graduated high school in 1990, so those big old school video cameras. I mean, I spent all my graduation money on that. I didn't get into UCLA. So, I decided I wanted to go out of state. I went to Indiana University. I remember I had a lot of friends that were going into nursing school, and I laughed at them because I'm like, oh my word, who would ever want to be a nurse? I'm like, that is not for me, not my thing. And so my entire freshman year of college, I took basics, but I also took TV movie type classes because that was what I was going to do. And I had the basic freshman year of college, some struggles, but nothing terrible. And the middle of finals, my second semester in college, I literally woke up one morning with this feeling, and I called my mom because, of course, this is 1991. The only means of communication is a telephone. Yeah, with that was connected to the wall with the cord that was curly, and I called my mom, and I'm like, "Mom, what am I doing?" And she's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I'm supposed to be a nurse." And, dead silence because my parents, just paid for a year of out-of-state tuition, and they're like and she's like, "Yeah, we always knew you were gonna be a nurse or a veterinarian."
Why didn't you tell me?
And that's what I said, and
Wow.
she's like, "If we had told you that, would you have ever listened to us?" And I said, "No, never." And I said, "What am I gonna do?" And she's like, "Well, I think you're gonna probably need to look at coming back in state because you're gonna need to switch schools." Because at that time, IU didn't have a nursing program in Indiana. You had to combine with IUPUI and all this, and so, yeah, I mean, literally, this was, like, divine intervention. God just whacked me upside the head.
That's what I was gonna say. I just wrote down faith. Was this your calling? Like, did you feel like that kind of a calling? Like
I
God is
I
pushing you in that direction?
I really did, and Um, and preface all this, I was very privileged. Both my parents had to put themselves through college, and so they had felt like they had saved money for us, and it was expected we worked our butts off during the summer to put money towards college. They were willing to help put us through college, but they weren't going to pay out of state tuition for me to go back to nursing school. I mean, from that minute on, I never questioned it. So I ended up going back to IU for one semester and then moving back home and doing community college for a semester while I had applied to University of Michigan to transfer. And one thing my parents had me do, which I am very grateful for, was they're like, "So you want to be a nurse? You need to become a nursing assistant and go get your butt into a nursing home. And really, you need to go do God's work there to make sure." And to this day, I feel like all anybody that wants to be a nurse needs to go be a nursing assistant in a nursing home where it's hard to get nursing assistants, where you really are doing the down dirty. You're taking care of 12 people, you got to get 12 baths done, the turning, the wiping, the loving on people who might not have family, who deserve the love. But yeah, I mean, literally from that minute on, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And never once have I questioned that decision. And I think nursing opens so many doors for people. But yeah, so never questioned that decision. But there again, I was bound and determined. I went to the University of Michigan, loved it there in Ann Arbor. And I had decided that what I wanted to do was pediatric oncology. And so I was going to graduate. I was going to move to Memphis, Tennessee, and work at St. Jude's. Even my classmates and even our professor had no doubt that was what I was going to do. And my senior year, I decided my parents had moved to Tennessee while I was going there. So I didn't have home base in Grand Rapids anymore, or Granville. And so I lived in Fletcher Hall, which was a very non-traditional dorm. It was all upperclassmen. And I wasn't supposed to live there my senior year. I was looking to get an apartment, and that fell through. So I stayed there my senior year, and my best friend was the female RA there. So I showed up there the day she was moving in. Her name is Yvette, and still really good friends to this day. And there was just huge noise, raucous going on. And she's like, "Oh, that is the new male RA. He's upstairs." And I'm like, "Oh." I'm like, "What's his name?" And she's like, "Chip." And so, yeah, that's how I met my husband.
Oh my gosh, I love that description.
Yeah, So, there again, we truly didn't date that year because he, of course, was the RA, but he had graduated from U of M 6 years previously. He's 6 years older than I am, but he needed a place to live. And so he was taking a class at U of M and being the RA in the dorm. But that was how I met my husband at the time. And it was one of those things. I graduated, we knew each other the whole year. We were friends. And then I graduated and we both moved out of the dorm and I had no idea where he went. And so um there again, I got a summer sublet living with my best friend who was going through law school, and I was waiting to take my nursing board so I could apply for a job so then I could look at moving to Memphis. And we got invited to a house party in Ann Arbor, which everybody knows in Ann Arbor during the summer, you go to house parties. That's kind of what you do. And I show up at this house party and he was living in the basement of the house.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And he walked me home and that
The
was it.
rest is history.
Yep.
I couldn't love that story anymore. Oh my
Yep.
gosh. And
Yep.
I do, again, not to keep bringing in this whole faith
But
and
it
God
is.
thing, but it is. It's
Yes.
like meant to be. Like you were supposed to
Yes.
stay in that place. And
Yeah. That and truly I grew up in a very religious family, and I definitely have struggled over the years with my faith, or at least with the faith that I was brought up with. I have very different views from that version of belief, but throughout my life, I have you might not see it at the time, but throughout my life, I can look back and see how God has done that. So I guess just starting with that story alone, how we kept getting put back together and how God has intervened and made sure that at the times in my life that I needed it, the whole footprints thing, it was always the version there. It wasn't that there was one set of footprints because God was carrying me. It's the version where there's a big line in the sand where God was dragging me and my head was hitting the rocks. So, yeah, we ended up staying in Michigan, and that's how our path kind of went. And I have so many more stories like that.
I love it. But how many years have you been married?
Let's see, we got married in 1997, so 28. Is
Wow.
that 28? Yeah.
I love that. I just love that
Yes.
story. Yeah.
Yes.
And for those that know Jen, and again, I don't know them as well as others, but when they're together, Jen and Chip, you kind of just tell they were supposed to be together. You can definitely tell that you are partners. So
Yeah.
I love that.
Yes.
So, okay, I kind of like this. I like this historical journey, but let's talk about yeah,
Yeah.
you thought you were going to go to Memphis. I mean, there
Mhm.
were so many different things that happened already and you weren't that old yet.
Right,
And you
yeah.
experienced all these different pivots, and one thing I really like and good perspective for people, especially young people, if you feel it, if you've got this nudge, if you've got this calling, don't ignore it. There's something to be said about that, especially since you've been a nurse for 30 years. I mean, there's
Mm,
something to be said about listening to that calling and being open to it and following that instead of, well, I'm in Indiana or I can't move. I better just
mhm,
stick it out here. No, if you feel like you should be doing something, life is short. So I really liked that message for sure. And I
mhm.
like the nursing story, because you met my sister who is a nurse.
Yeah.
And I just am so grateful for people that go into that profession because it's not easy
No.
and we need good nurses. Nurses are so, so important. We can all say that from being patients or from having children or family members that are patients. So
Yeah.
thank you for
Yeah.
doing that. And also, I have a really good friend who she's younger than me, but she's not 20 years old.
Mhm.
She's currently going into nursing. So
Perfect.
when she listens to this, I always tell her, just based on my sister's experience, exactly what you said, that it opens a lot of doors for you. So I can't wait for her to
Mhm.
hear your messages because I'm sure you went through this when you went through the difficult education that am I doing the right thing? Should I keep doing this? Or like when you were working as a nursing assistant, you thought, oh gosh, this is going to be so hard. Am I really in the right situation? And she questions that all the time, but I strongly believe she is.
Yeah.
And she'll be grateful to hear the perspective on that. So I like that we kind of went in that route. I'm sure we didn't really know we were going to talk about that, but
Mhm.
I like to hear about how you got to where you are now. I thought that
Yeah.
was really good. But you then You're together and you have children.
Oh, yeah, so Xavier was born while we were still in Michigan. He was born at University of Michigan Hospital, and then when he was a year and a half old, almost 2, we ended up, moving to Minnesota, actually, for, Chip's job, and that was another move that for me, I loved the idea of moving, but then felt very lonely, isolated. Why the heck are we here? Which again was a God nudge when all was said and done. Um, and we really struggled. We wanted to have another baby, had a very hard time getting pregnant the second time. I worked a couple different jobs in Minnesota. Finally, when we were about to start the fertility treatment, I got pregnant with Erica. And so I quit working because I struggle. Pregnancy and I don't get along well. But so Xavier was maybe 2.5 when I got pregnant. But we noticed when he was just a little over 3 when she was born. But we noticed at that point that he was having a hard time jumping and clearing his feet. And so Erica was probably a month old and we had started Xavier physical therapy. I remember I was bringing a 4-week-old baby with me to physical therapy every week. So from a very young age. And I'll even bring in the God thing here. I found a mom's group because I had postpartum depression with both pregnancies and deliveries. And I found this amazing mom's group that was supporting me. I didn't work for the first 11 months that Erica of her life. And I struggled. I struggled to be a stay-at-home mom. I'm one of those moms that I am a better mom when I was working. I have friends who are like the most amazing stay-at-home moms. I was not.
Yeah, it's not for
So
everybody. I mean, and that's another thing, like recognizing that. Yeah.
yeah, but um, when Erica was 11 months old, I started to look for a job, and nobody wanted to hire a nurse that hadn't worked for a year. Found that out the
Hmm.
hard way. It still happens. And I found a place that was doing in-person interviews. I had no idea what it was. And I showed up for this interview, and it turned out to be a medical management company, third party administrator for health insurance for retired coal miners. They were going to be taking over this brand new contract. So everybody was starting from scratch. Nobody knew what they were going to be doing, and it just sounded ideal. And so they hired me. And we all were going to. So for the first, 2 to 3 weeks of this job, it was just our client educating us about our beneficiaries. And so as a group of nurses and social workers, we just all got to sit and bond and get to know each other. And during this time, we took Xavier to see a neurologist because the physical therapist was concerned that there might be something wrong with him. And this neurologist was like, "Oh, I think he's fine. I think he's quirky. I think he's a little slow, but I think everything's okay. But let's just take some blood and we'll check. But I really think he's okay. I think your physical therapist has done an amazing job with him." And 4 days later, I'm at work at this job and my desk phone rings and it is the doctor. I'm like, "How did he even get my phone number?" And he's like, "I called your house and your nanny gave me your number." And he starts crying on the phone. But I'm at my desk, and luckily, like I say, I have this new family, and I start waving to one of my coworkers, and she comes running over, and she puts her arms around me because I'm crying because this doctor's crying. He's like, his CPK came back at 25,000. I need you to come back tomorrow, and we're gonna run some labs again. I'm like, okay, we'll be there tomorrow. And the thing was, back right after we had gotten married, I had done clinical trial at a headache clinic I worked at, and they had run a CPK on me, and my CPK came back at 25,000 at the time. But I, at the time, was doing the Atkins diet, was exercising like 2 hours a day. I was newly married and trying to lose weight. So nobody at this clinic knew why my CPK was high, and they thought it was a fluke, like a lab error,
Hmm.
and never thought to repeat mine. So it wasn't until Xavier's came back high. It was really weird. So the next day we went, and the doctor's like, "I think he's got Duchenne muscular dystrophy." and you might be a carrier. And I'm like, oh, I'm sure I'm a carrier, all that. But I preface all this because, we had a friend come with us and everything else. And the big thing on diagnosis day for any diagnosis your kid has is your entire world changes that day. Nothing changes for your kid. And so Xavier is happy as can be, other than, blood draws. But it was Erica's first birthday that day. And so we're driving home, and Xavier's like, so what time are we going out to celebrate Erica's birthday today? Are we still going to Ruby Tuesdays? And he was all about the fact that we're having a birthday party. And we were like, yeah. Chip and I decided on that. It helped us and saved us in a way that, yeah, we're celebrating life and that's how we're going forward. And everybody's like, "Oh, you're so inspirational and remarkable." And I mean, don't you hate that?
I hate that. No, it's what
But
you do if you're a parent.
right. Right, but for us, that perspective, we're sitting in the front seat of the car, like, feeling like we got hit by a semi, and he's like, "We're having a birthday party, we're having cupcakes," and we're like, "Yeah, we're gonna go celebrate life today and every day going forward." So that very much put us in the mindset for how our life is going to be going forward. It doesn't mean we don't have crappy days and that you don't sit in your sad soup and simmer for a while on days. So that kind of helped us with that perspective going forward. So Erica's first birthday, he was 4. The job with insurance really helped me at that point. And that mom's group that I was a part of, those were some of the first women who knew about this diagnosis. And to this day, they're some of my closest friends. That coworker group, I called some of them on the way home. The next day, I came to work because I needed to go to work. My desk was covered in cards. I mean, these people probably had, an hour's notice. And I still have the cards in my drawer. I mean, we're coming up on 21 years or 20 years. And so all those things of God putting people in my life that at the time I'm like, why the heck am I in Minnesota? Why am I here? The physical therapist and the occupational therapist we had, very instrumental. So that really helped us decide how we were going to live our life, how we were going to raise our kids. And 8 years later, Erica was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And I remember the social worker at the hospital sitting us down, and she's like, now I know this is probably the hardest news you have ever received about your child.
No.
And it was so terrible because we started
Laughing.
laughing. And she's thinking that we are like struggling. And she's like, "Are you okay?" And we're like, "No, we get it. I get that type 1 is deadly. And this is horrible news." We're like, but you don't understand what our other child has. And once we started telling her, the poor social worker started crying,
Oh gosh.
which only another Duchenne parent understands why it's hilarious that the poor social worker's crying. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, just this week in Michigan, an 8-year-old that the parents didn't know she had diabetes just died. Like undiagnosed type 1 kills children. So I will get on my bandwagon about type 1 diabetes not being recognized and whatnot. But for our family, for her to say this was the worst thing to happen to a child, we were like, this isn't the worst thing. It's hard and it stinks. But okay, one more thing. Let's,
We're gonna figure this out.
we're going to figure this out because what else are you going to do? That became her backpack to wear. We all have a backpack we wear. We had a therapist, pediatric therapist, explain this. Everybody has worries or burdens. Everybody has a backpack, and everybody has rocks that get put in your backpack. And some rocks you have to carry, some rocks you are choosing to carry. So you can figure out how to get rid of some of your rocks. Some of your rocks are always going to be there, and you just have to figure out how to carry them. So everybody's got the rocks they have to carry. That's her rock. We got our rocks, and so we have figured out, technology has come a long way. So that was her struggle. She was 9 at the time, and that was the challenge at that time. She carries that gracefully, and I think a lot better than a lot of people do. We have high expectations of her sometimes, to manage it, but she does a really good job of it, you know.
And she's
But
living on her own now, right?
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah, yep. So we stayed in Minnesota for many years. We still have amazing friends there that we consider family. It was a really, really, really hard decision to decide to move back to Michigan, but um, life just got to be really hard there. Our house wasn't meeting our needs. We knew we were going to need to move to a house that was more accessible. We wanted to be a little bit closer to family again. My parents were back in Michigan. We had a lot of friends that were still living here. My sister uh, is in Indiana, and her husband had a sudden heart attack and had passed away. And we just wanted to be closer to her. And my husband's sister is in Knoxville, so it's just closer. It's an 8-hour drive to her to be back here. And so we had tried to sell our house for a summer and got no action on it. And we realized it just wasn't the right time. And then a lot of things fell into place in the following spring when we were like, we really want to move to Michigan. Let's see if we can do this. We put our house on the market and it sold in a week. And we came to Michigan to look for a house. We had 5 days to find a house, and we found the perfect house. And, there again, if it's the right thing, God's going to say, sure, let's do this. And if it's not, you can try all you want, but it's not going to happen. So we moved back to Michigan, and it was the right time, and we're very glad to be back here. So it has worked out well. Xavier now, and one of the reasons we did it is Xavier wanted to go to the University of Michigan. He's able to live at home, and he takes a modified schedule, but he's able to take classes. We're just able to make that work for him, and he's studying biomedical engineering.
I
And
told you
hopefully,
he was smart.
yes, yes, he won't
Wow.
tell us. Yeah, he won't tell us what he wants to do with that. And Erica, she was at Grand Valley University, and she was studying wildlife biology, and she had a really rough first 2 semesters with some illnesses the first semester, and then second semester my dad passed away and she had another illness, and she realized that she just needed to take some time to figure out what she wants to do, which to me is perfect. Why go to school? Why spend the money if you don't know what you want? And so we're fully supportive of that. She's going to be starting a job next month, actually as a PCA at the hospital at Trinity in Grand Rapids on their oncology unit of all things. So we'll see. I
Yeah.
don't expect her to make a career out of nursing or anything. It's more just figuring out what you do and don't want while you're making some money and figuring your life out. So
Exactly, and perspective from all of the things that you've done in your life, so I'm sure she has learned that, and good for her.
yeah.
I hope it goes well, or at least helps her see what she's interested in and what she's not interested in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. And I guess the biggest thing is people always want to ask how your kids are doing. And a lot of times they want to ask from a medical perspective. And I'm like, and again, back to the whole thing, least interesting thing. I'm like, my kids are good people. They are kind. They are compassionate. They are empathetic. And for the most part, they're happy, which in today's world, I have lots of friends whose kids are not happy and are struggling with their mental health. And I struggle with my mental health right now. So I am just so excited for the people they are and the people they're turning into. And that's what I'm most grateful for. That they're in good places for the most part.
Yeah, I really like that. I wrote down that whole backpack thing. That is so true. And when you were talking about Duchenne and how the things that we can relate with, it's like, yeah, that is something I didn't expect. That's something that maybe many of my friends have not had to deal with. But it's all relative. Like you said, everyone has these different rocks, and some they have to carry and some they don't. And there's some people that have had to unfortunately deal with diabetes, and maybe some of them didn't figure it out as soon as you were able to with your daughter, but it doesn't mean that something else they're going through isn't important to or isn't this rock that they're carrying. So,
Mhm.
yes, it is tough when people say, "Oh, you're so amazing and you're so strong." It's like, "No, I'm just like you. I'm just a regular person who wasn't sure what tomorrow was gonna bring and had to alter my life plan, had to figure out how to best support a child that's gonna be in a wheelchair and now is in a wheelchair, drive around a beautiful van with a ramp that is not real stylish, and
Right,
did I think that was gonna be me? Did I think when he was a junior I would be the chauffeur?
right.
No. Did Chip think that? But you figure it out, especially if you're a loving parent who wants to make a good life for your children. That's what you do. So
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, I will say earlier this week, my Facebook memory was Mercy Me has the song Even If, and they're actually making a movie about it that's coming out. But it was somebody had shared from 7 years ago, 8 years ago, Bart Miller talking about the song and the place the song came from and how God could heal his son. But even if he does it, that's okay. But he talks about people who are always like, "Oh, you're so inspirational." And if you're going through something, that's okay. And he's like, "And if you haven't gone through something yet, God bless you, it's coming." And
you hate to
it's
say that, but it's true.
right, right. And for a long time, I would be like bitter towards people who are like, or look at people and they're like overreact. I feel like they're overreacting to what they're going through, but then I realize their rock to them is heavy because they haven't been through what I've been through. So to them, that is a heavy rock. And I
Mhm.
need to give grace and understanding because that's only what they know.
Yeah,
It's
I really appreciate you saying that. It's the same with so many people that are guests on the show. They have all different stories to tell, and sometimes I think, "Gosh, I wish that wouldn't have wrecked your whole perspective." But on the other hand, it did, and you had to learn from it, and you had to grow from it, and again, it's relative. Just because
mhm,
you don't have a son in a wheelchair doesn't mean you can't relate, or I can't relate to you, or that you don't have something to share. So, I
right.
appreciate you saying that grace and understanding. I think if all of us in this world had more grace and understanding, we'd have a much better place going on. That's for sure.
Definitely. Definitely. I agree.
Yeah. And I also really like how you said, I mean, gosh, so relatable. And I'm sorry to keep going back to the
Oh,
Duchenne
no.
piece, but your child teaching you to celebrate life that day. And you made me think, I mean, I got a little emotional, as you could tell too, because it's
Oh, me too.
exactly what I can relate to that so well. When the doctor that pretty much gave me the, diagnosis. She wasn't the neurologist, so it wasn't the official diagnosis. She did the
Right.
same thing, like, she kind of held my hand and she was crying. I'm like, "Why are you crying?" And, it was such an emotional time. It was good looking back. I'm so grateful for that doctor. But after she told and I was by myself, she told me, "I'm crying, she's crying." The nurse had taken Nathan, he was 5, and she was
Mhm.
coloring with him. And when he came back, he's like, "Mom, look at this picture." And it was a picture of him and his older brother playing soccer.
Oh,
And, you're like, "Oh my god, like, he's not gonna run like that, and he's gonna be in a wheelchair." And you're thinking all of these things, but you're like, "That's a great picture, buddy," and you're
mhm,
trying not to but at the time, oh, that was so impossible, and it was probably, at the time, the most difficult thing I had ever gone through. And again, those 4 and 5-year-olds just taught us, like, "No, we gotta keep going. Like,
mhm.
let's have fun." I drew a picture. I'm
Yeah.
having fun. I'm gonna go play soccer with my brother. And just that perspective, just that innocence, just that, "No, here's where we are today. Let's
Mhm,
celebrate it. Let's live for today." And my perspective just immediately changed.
mhm.
And that's why I can't think about a 5-year plan anymore. We think like 2 weeks from now, or someone will say, "Hey, what are you doing for spring break?" I have no idea, okay? It's next year.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. And in the time since our kids were diagnosed, I mean, haven't you seen unexpected cancer diagnosis? Kids get hit by cars, suicides. It's like my kid may have a fatal diagnosis, but they're not actively suicidal. And I guess I see a lot of things like that that I'm like, okay, we can be grateful for the rock that I guess that's the thing. I can be very grateful for the rock that I see in my bag. as opposed to
Yes.
the one that's about to come hit me out of left
Right.
field,
That
or
you don't even know.
right, or like the Wile E. Coyote with the big boulder that's about to flatten me.
Yes. Right, right. Very, very good perspective. Wow.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
the other thing, gosh, this is just I'm just appreciating everything you're saying so much. You have such good nuggets,
Mhm,
as I've said several times on this podcast. One of my previous guests talked about leaving nuggets everywhere you go, and you're certainly leaving several for us today. But as I've said since we started season 2 with the Show Me the Way podcast is I love highlighting the importance of the community and the village. And it was interesting to hear you talk about Minnesota and how you felt alone because when I first met you, it was right when you came back to Michigan and you had nothing but amazing things to say about the people that you had left in Minnesota. My friends that are family, like I
mhm.
just remember
Yeah,
that so strongly that that was a huge thing for you to leave all of those people. So the
mhm,
fact that you had this moms group that was available right when you needed it, and then this coworker group, which that's so funny. You only, had a couple weeks together, but you're bonding because you're going through all of this boring training together, and just to create that bond, and then have these people that were there for you when you needed it, unexpected people that were there for you when you needed
mhm.
it. I just think that's so special and important. I don't think we're meant to do any of this alone. And I'm
No,
appreciative that you highlighted that because even without being prompted, that's been something I'm trying to remember to focus on each episode, the importance of our village and our community.
yeah, yeah,
So,
and I think social media definitely, for all the things that's been terrible, I think the social media has it allows you to find your people, whether, I think now to my Duchenne community, um, i is key, It doesn't have to be a rare
yeah.
disease
And
community, but
right. And I have said to guests and I've said to my family, early on in his diagnosis, we were very involved in the Duchenne community, and we met a lot of people, you and your husband included, that really supported us and helped us. You had older children, so it was like, "Oh my gosh, what do we do for this, and how do we do that?" And
Mhm.
things as simple as, "He won't take his medication, what do we do?" And
Right.
I got such great support and such great advice, and anytime I needed anything, even now, if I reach out to Jen, she's immediately responding to me, and again, we don't see each other all the time. So, knowing that you've got people that have paved the way, and then I was involved in a nonprofit and I went to a lot of government
Mhm.
meetings and I went to FDA meetings, and it was so cool to be in that. But for us, it was just a decision we needed to step a little
Yeah.
bit away from it. I think we were too engrossed in it at the time,
Mhm.
similar to what you were kind of saying. I think God puts
Yeah.
people in our life at times for reasons, and then maybe we kind of fall out of that path, but it doesn't
Right.
mean that we don't appreciate everything that we got from that community, and all of those people. Then they were angels in our
Right.
life at the time, and Jen, you were and you continue to be an angel for us. Just you've paved the way and you know so much, and it's great to have resources like that.
Mhm.
But you do find the people that you just have to go to on things, or that just get you or just understand, and even if
Mhm.
it's one person, I just think that's so important, and I like to highlight that because don't ever think you're alone. Just
Right.
find the community that works for you. And I always used to say too with the Duchenne community, just because our kids have Duchenne doesn't mean we're going to be the best of friends. But
Oh,
it it
amen to that.
amen. But we could definitely
Yeah.
relate more than anyone else. Like when I hear you talk, it's like, wow, we were there. And
Yeah.
that's a good feeling because you don't feel
Yeah.
like you're alone. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I should say when I say do something, I have like a core group of moms that we have a ongoing chat thread that's probably been daily for 8, 9 years. It's those people,
yes.
and our kids are all similar ages and
Mhm.
that kind of group. And it doesn't have to be disease specific. I think you end up with like friends, sport, if you're in a sport
Same,
together, or
right,
high
yes,
school,
I have my
things like
soccer
that.
friends that have become my family,
Mhm.
yep, yep, yep.
Yep.
But I also
Yep.
wanted to too, and I'm not going to, use names, protect privacy, but I know that,
Mhm.
through social media, one of your very close Duchenne moms went through a loss recently, and it was like, there was Jen jumping on a plane to get to her, and that just warms my heart because it's like, that's what we need, people that will jump on a plane for us, and so I'm sure that was just so needed and so important that you were able to do that, and what a way to fill that person's bucket and just be there for the person that needed you.
Yeah. Well, I think we all have our skill set. I have a husband that allows me to do that.
Yeah, yes. But I think your skill set too, and it goes back, which I said we would come back to, the fact that you started your own business or you decided to take everything that you've learned and everything that you know and you've become an expert on and consult and advise other people. So I'm very grateful for you on that business. And if you would like to plug it, you're more than welcome to share the name of it and I can share it in the notes as well. But yeah, your business, I wouldn't mind letting our listeners know about that.
Oh, sure. I don't have a website or anything, but you can always find me on LinkedIn. It's just JLS Consulting.
Yeah, I think people need to know that there's resources like that out there for them because from firsthand experience, insurance and all of those questions and benefits and what's covered and what's not, it's so difficult. We talk a lot about my son was in a trial and our insurance company still calls that medication experimental even though it's FDA approved and he continues to receive it. They still call
Right.
it
Yeah.
experimental to this day. So, yeah,
Yeah.
paving that world for people is really important too. So I appreciate you putting that out there. And again, people can reach out or find you on LinkedIn, but also just to know that there's something like that that can help them when they're feeling lost is really good. And I wanted to
Yes.
say one more thing. I forgot to say this earlier. We were talking about the CPK levels. That's like the creatine. That's something that your body naturally creates. And what's a
Mhm.
normal level?
It depends which scale people are using, but it's usually under like 250 is normal.
The that really crazy number 25,000, 27,000. That
25,000. Yeah.
20
Yeah.
yeah, that Jen talked about, that's exactly how we found out too. It was the same thing. So I just wanted to say that in case you weren't sure what that was. But that also leads me to what you said about diabetes and finding out about that so that you can treat it before it's too late. How did you figure that out?
It helps having medical knowledge, but for type 1 diabetes, you can actually do antibody screening. That's something that I always talk about John Legend and Chrissy Teigen. Their son, Miles, actually has type 1 diabetes, and they're talking a lot more about blood tests. If your pediatrician is just doing blood tests on your kids, they can do a test to look for antibodies because it is a genetic disease. Sometimes your kids can have antibodies for it. But also, just for Erica, what we noticed was just the extreme thirst in her. She was home for spring break and just drinking a ton, going to the bathroom more often. She was looking really thin, which for her, she always would have a growth spurt and then look really thin. So we didn't necessarily think that that was an issue.
The fact that if something's off, professionals aren't always going to know exactly what's going on. A physical therapist might guide you a certain direction and it might not have been
Mhm.
the right direction. That neurologist originally said everything's fine. It's important to advocate and question and listen and pay
Right.
attention too because yeah, when you find things out early, you can treat them. When there's a blood test and it shows something, don't ignore it. So I think I just
Right.
wanted to highlight the fact that you and your husband were good at following through and
Mhm.
being advocates for your children. And I'm sure
Yeah.
you're advocates for yourselves as well. And that's just a very important message that I wanted to make sure I highlighted after listening to you.
I agree. I think the biggest thing is never doubt. I call it mom gut, but dads have it too. So maybe your parent gut that if something just seems off with your kid, I think the big thing too is just believe your kids. I was a kid that had a lot of issues, health issues as a kid, and my God bless my parents for all the faults they might have had. They always believed me. So believe your kids. If your gut is telling you something seems off, push.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So many good nuggets here. Well, I promised Jen I wasn't going to take up more than an hour of her time, and we're over that now. But I wanted to go back at like I said, I always take notes. I've got notes
Yeah.
all over here, and it was just again, Jen showed us that there's all kinds of pivots on the road of life. All kinds. You really have so many unexpected twists and turns, which is the point of this podcast, just to share that you're not alone. It's okay. You're going to
Mhm.
go through things. You're going to carry different rocks. And if you're not carrying any rocks, to Jen's point, we're not trying to be the bearer of bad news or doom and gloom, but there will be rocks along the way. That's
Yeah.
what life is about. Yeah. So when you have a rock that you're carrying or you have something that you're carrying, you're not alone. Don't do it on your own. Advocate, reach out to people, connect with people. Don't be afraid to share. I was talking with my guest yesterday how people will say, "What can I do? I'm here for you. I want to help." And a lot of times, sometimes they don't really mean it, but a lot of times they mean it. Like they want to
Mhm.
help, they want to be there for you, and just like you want to be there for them. So I think these are all such good life lessons, whether you deal with a child with some kind of medical diagnosis or not. These are very good life lessons. I'm so very happy to hear Xavier and Erica are doing the things that they're doing. I think it's awesome. Like I said, that Xavier was able to go to U of M and take classes and things like that inspire me with a 16-year-old. So that's great to
Yep.
hear. Sometimes life looks very different than we plan, but we can still have a path that works for our family. And I'm just very grateful
Yep.
that you shared all of the twists and turns and all of the things that you and your family are doing and all with a big smile on your face. You have a lot on your plate, but you keep going. And I'm proud of you for that.
Yeah.
And I'm also proud that
Huh.
you were
Good.
open to doing this interview.
Always, always, and, proud of you guys too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining me for the Show Me the Way podcast. I truly appreciate you tuning in to today's episode about overcoming adversity and finding your path. I hope it brought you new insights, empowered you with perspective, and inspired you to find joy in your journey. If this episode touched your heart, don't forget to leave a quick review as it will help us reach and motivate more people. Until next time, keep seeking the light and showing the way.